we start looking at drawings in SolidWorks, just a quick recap on some of the rules for producing drawings. When we produce drawings using CAD, we still have to conform to standards and to the rules that we've laid down previously. So moving forward quickly, engineering drawings, well, they communicate three important features for any object that we're producing. We need to make sure that we show the shape of the object, the views. The views communicate the shape, they tell people what we're trying to manufacture. What's important is that we put in sufficient number of views. We don't over fill the drawing with too many views, we just put in what we need. One of the beauties of CAD is we can include isometric and orthographic drawings. We can use rendered images, especially with 3D CAD. We can use rendered images to show what we're trying to produce. So it's a case of how we decide to lay it out and what we decide to show. We need to show dimensions, the sizes. Once again, it's quite easy to over dimension. It is important that we put sufficient number of dimensions on the drawing to manufacture it. Not too much information, it can become confusing. CAD dimensioning is very, very quick. It's easy to put lots and lots and lots of dimensions on, and we don't need it. We need to make sure we put sufficient number that it can be manufactured. The other bit of information that we need is about the non-graphical things like what processes, drilling, reaming, boring, painting, finishes, is a special treatment after it's been manufactured. These are all important information. They must be included onto your drawing. When we work with drawings, we continue to work using international standards and conforming to international needs. So we can either produce drawings using first angle or third angle. We're going to work mainly in third angle. So we'll have a little recap of that as we go in through doing some drawings. But in third angle projection, yeah, we need to make sure we put the symbols in and we conform. Any views that aren't conforming to a standard projection, first or third, we need to put arrows in and note the way in which we're looking at them. We'll add notes to the drawing. And really speaking, dimensioning. The way in which we dimension is very, very important. When we dimension things manually or on CAD, we need to conform to the same standards. So dimension text, it's always read from the bottom or the right hand side. CAD drawings, especially 3D CAD drawings, automatically generate dimensions. Positioning them generally conforms to these standards, but you have options to override on sometimes, so you need to look at how you position, where you position dimensions. The text is always put central above the dimension line. Again, this is something you have control over. Neatness, presentation, it makes life easier for somebody manufacturing it. The dimension extension line should have a small gap. It's really poor quality drawings if the extension line touches the object. There needs to be a gap to differentiate between the two. A tail just left on. These are all things that are set up within the drawing, and we'll have a look at how we set these up shortly, but they must conform. And finally, the way in which you lay out and position things clear of an object. Don't cramp dimensions. Like I said earlier, don't over dimension. Just put sufficient dimensions on. We need to leave 10 to 15 millimeters between the dimensions. Cramped dimensions, difficult to read, going to lead to long-term problems where we're going to get mistakes made and drawings not working for us. So we're going to look at how we import the dimensions and how we set up drawings and the drawing setup within SolidWorks itself. Okay, so we're in SolidWorks, so we're going to have a look now at a drawing and how we set up a drawing. So the first thing we're going to do, you should have been given a drawing file, a template file, or been able to download one. So I'm just going to go and find the file. There it is, drawing template. That's my drawing template, and I'm going to open it. So this is a template. It's got a lot of predefined or pre-set up conditions within it, and I don't want to alter this at all. So the first thing you should do once you open up something like a template like this is to save it. I suggest you save it. Just go save as drawing template and then just add your initials to it, and that now becomes my template drawing. Every time I'm going to use the template then to create the drawing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that with a drawing number or a drawing title so that I don't corrupt my actual template that I'm working on. So setup, screen setup, very much the same. Okay, still got the tabs across the top. Design sort of tab, design window down the side here, which has got information on it. And over on this side, same icon you've seen before. This is the one we're going to use a lot of, which is drawing palette view, and we'll look at how we use that and how we bring parts into it in a short while. So on the left hand side, I've got blocks. Well, in this instance, I've got a block which is my symbol for third angle projection. So it's already there, and we can modify it and create different blocks, annotations, any notes that are added, and then I've got my sheet format. If I expand down my sheet format, these are the things that I've got access to put in. So I've got my title block, and I've got all my bills of materials. If I right click on sheet format and go to properties, I've now got a sheet format property box open, and in here I can change my setup. So if I actually wanted to produce first angle projection, just hit the radio button there and it's done. Okay, third angle, my scale, I can change the scale. So at the moment I'm working in a half scale drawing sheet. I can modify that within the views that I create and lots of things, but we can go back and change this a little later on. And I can put in labels and things like that. So I'll just change that to A, because that's what I want to do. Okay, and I go OK. Another thing to show you within there, going to go back into it, properties. I've got different layouts. We've got an A3 layout. This is the type of layout we've got, and you can display it. I can undisplay it. Job done. Okay. So my title block, you can see it, it's behind. If I click on it, I'm not really accessing my border, can't access it. What I can do is to access in here, I right click, could edit sheet format, and now this is an editable section. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, I'm going to zoom in here, and just to show you quickly how we edit things, I'm going to edit this text. So I'm just going to put in some tolerances for linear tolerances and angular tolerances. So I'm just going to double click on here, and I get my notes box open. So I'm going to create a linear tolerance. Let's create a linear tolerance of 0.01. So I want to put a plus minus sign in on the left hand side. Use my add a symbol button. Click on that, plus minus, puts it in there. 0.01 millimeters. Okay. Same thing for angular. I'll double click on my angular one. Okay. Add a symbol. I need plus minus. Oops. Control Z to undo. Click that. Plus minus. 0.05. That's a bit tight. 0.5 of a degree. I want to put a degree symbol in. There's my degree symbol. Note. Job done. Okay. If I want to exit this, because these can be altered, but they're set up as custom properties within the drawing, and we'll look at those next. So up here, okay, sheet format, back to the sheet format. No, I can't now edit this. Yeah, I only edit when I'm in edit sheet format. So to change these, what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom into this a little bit, but yeah, zoom in there. Up here I've got my custom properties box, and these are predefined for you. So what we can do is we can set up and edit text that we've got within here. This text is linked to this property name here. Okay, the drawing number, well, that's linked to property number 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this. So I'm going to put in there, what you could put in here is your course title, your company name, anything you like. So I'm just going to put in a title. Just going to give it a company name. When I click OK, it updates that block there and puts it in. So things that I want to, that are permanently, or you're going to be there all the time, I can do now. So actually I'm going to do all these drawings, so I could actually change the property for drawings. So I'm going to go in here, drawn by, put my name in. Won't do the date because every drawing date changes, and so does the other information. So I'm just going to click OK, and there's my name. Okay, zoom back to my full sheet. So what I'm going to do now, we're just going to click save, and that's going to be always there. That's always going to be my drawing block. So I now know that when I enter information into a drawing, I can enter information into my drawing block that way. So again, we've looked at how to access properties here. Right click in the middle of the screen, we can edit sheet format, or I can go down and I can edit the properties. Once again, I can go in here and do that. Okay. There's lots of things that we can do to add to the drawing. There's lots of ways in which we can manipulate things on the drawing. So the last thing to look at is how we actually set up some of the dimension styles and text styles and things like that. So we've got up the top here, we've got our actual settings button, and if I click here, I go to options, and I get two tabs. Go to document properties, and now into my drafting standards. And we'll quickly run through these. If I look at annotations, annotations is the text that I use for notes and dimensions, and I can expand it down, and it shows me all the options that I have. So for instance, balloons are something we'll use when we do assembly drawings. So my balloon style is set up. It's set up with a bent leader line. I can have a straight one. I can have a splined line. It's natural to have bent lines, and so I'm going to use that. Datums, again, we'll look at putting these in later on. Tolerances, our geometric tolerance box is set up. Again, bent leader line. Okay, all of these have been set up. My notes, how my notes are going to look, the type of text I'm going to use. I've got my dimension styles. Quickly go into dimensions. We're going to modify one of these just for you to see. So again, I've got my font. I've got my arrow size set up and my arrow style. I could change my arrow style if I wanted to, but filled arrow is what we require. The way in which the dimensions are spaced out, so a minimum of 10 mil from an object if I use auto dimensioning, and 15 mil apart. We're going to alter this one just for you to see how to alter something. So I'm going to go break my dimension line. So where dimension lines cross, I can actually have a break around that. So I'm just going to go alter that to 3 mil. Just click there. Break the dimension. My gaps are set up, my extension gaps. My gap here is 3 mil, my tail is 3 mil, and so then my dimensions are, again, the style in which I lay dimensions out. So angular dimensions, text read horizontally, it's nice and neat, but if you prefer, you can change the way in which it laid out. Tend to use this one. Same for things like arc length, okay, chamfer, how the chamfer is presented. So on a chamfer dimension, I could have it underlined, I could have it in that style. That's a nice neat presentation. When we actually do dimensions, there are overrides again that we can use. So things like for diameters, yeah, we're going to use something simple. Radius, very simple again. Tables, we don't really need to look at tables now, but this is just how you set up your tables. Very much like Microsoft Excel, I can set up my borders and the style of my borders. We're going to use a lot of bill of materials at one point, so we'll look at those later on. The other thing we need to look at is views. And so if I go into views, auxiliary view, it's an additional view taken of an angle. So it might be a view looking on a chamfered surface or an angled surface. Before you actually start drawing, you need to run through and make sure the things are set up. So all my text is set up to 3.5 millimeters, so I'm happy with that. So I've also got my detail views. Detail views are extracting views from a drawing and putting in extra information. So again, I can change my line style, so I can use a phantom line just to differentiate between a solid line and other things. Phantom line is a line, long line with 2 short dashes in it. Sections, cut in views, planes are shown, arrows are shown. My text, again, set up, ready to go. Scale text, all set up. So all this is really predefined for you. This is just for you to get looking at it. You can come in and modify it. If you need to change the way in which drawings are laid out at some point, then this is where you come into it. So your document property section. The systems we're not going to touch. Most of these are predefined. We can modify them later on, but for now, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So the next thing, okay, I'm happy with that. Happy with my drawing setup. Now I'm going to save my drawing again, and then prepare to start bringing in component parts. So we'll look at that in the next video clip.